We're here to decode the AI wealth multiplier, how the 1% are using it to get richer while you sleep.
While you were sleeping last night, 20 billionaires made a combined $460 billion. Not from working harder, not from being smarter, from deploying one weapon you have access to right now, but aren't using. Section 1, the new wealth chasm. Look, what's happening right now isn't just another gap between the rich and the poor. That's horizontal. This is a vertical divide, an absolutely unprecedented event. And it's all being driven by one single catalyst: artificial intelligence.
Think about this. In just the last year, the top 10 U.S. tech founders, they added over $500 billion to their net worth. That's not my opinion. That data comes straight from Bloomberg. And no, this isn't some weird fluke. It's the market rewarding the companies that are all in on AI.
And this isn't just a Silicon Valley thing. The scale here is global. Oxfam reports that the total wealth held by billionaires just hit $18.3 trillion in 2025. That is the highest level ever in history. And you need to understand, this isn't some post-pandemic recovery. It's an acceleration, a fundamental shift.
Right. And that same Oxfam report, it confirms that billionaire wealth has shot up by 81% just since 2020. A rate of accumulation like that, it's a massive signal. It's telling us there's been a structural shift in the economy. The old rules for building wealth, they've just been completely rewritten.
Now let's zoom in a bit. This is where it gets really interesting. We're looking at the ultra-high net worth crowd, people with over 30 million bucks. Data from Altrata shows their combined wealth exploding from $42.7 trillion in 2020 to a projected $59.8 trillion by 2025. You see that? That's a $17.1 trillion jump in just 5 years. What you're watching, right here on this chart, is the new chasm being carved out in real time.
So that brings us to Section 2. How is this happening? You've got to understand, the 1% aren't just getting lucky here. They're not passive beneficiaries. They are the architects. They're deploying AI not as some neat little tool, but as a fully engineered protocol for generating wealth.
And it all operates on 3 core pillars. Pillar 1, systematic investing. This is about removing human emotion and error from the equation. Pillar 2, operational scaling, multiplying efficiency, slashing costs. And Pillar 3, predictive decision-making, using AI to model the future and de-risk huge investments. And right there, that's the critical distinction you need to get. For the 1%, AI isn't an app you download. It's not a feature. It is a complete system overhaul. You know, Copia Wealth Studios tracked this top 30 asset manager. They tried a bunch of one-off AI experiments and got nowhere. Real success only happened when they went for a total end-to-end transformation. See, this is about building a machine, not just tinkering with a new tool. Okay, so let's get concrete. Pillar 1, systematic investing. Go Banking Rates has reported on this. The ultra-wealthy are using platforms like Medzi and HiveTax AI to automate tax loss harvesting, something that used to take teams of people. They're using enterprise-level systems like Conquest, which, by the way, is backed by Goldman Sachs, for portfolio analysis that just strips out human bias. What you're left with is a cold, rational, and absolutely ruthless investment machine. All right, pattern interrupt. Let me ask you a question. What's the real operational cost difference between a firm running on AI and a traditional one?
The answer? According to Copia Wealth Studios, it's a 25 to 40% drop in their entire cost base. And that brings us to Pillar 2, operational scaling. See, it's not just about making more money on the front end. It's about engineering a system that costs dramatically less to run. That creates a compounding advantage that's almost impossible to compete with.
Okay, Section 3. Let's talk about the cost of inaction. Because while the 1% are building these systems, a totally new gap is opening up. It's not about income, it's about action. This is the price you pay for standing still.
Just look at these numbers. A LendingTree survey found something pretty staggering. Even among high-income earners, we're talking people making over $100,000 a year. A full 54% majority aren't convinced AI is going to help them build wealth. They're stuck in what we call the inaction zone. It's like they can see the tool, but they just don't recognize it as a weapon. So this leads to the most important question for you, personally. What is the 10-year cost of staying in that zone? Let's be clear, the cost isn't stagnation. It's not just falling a little behind. The cost is a permanent, structural wealth disadvantage.
It means being on the wrong side of the single greatest wealth multiplication event in 100 years, a gap that, very soon, will become impossible to cross.
Which brings us to Section 4, your AI wealth multipliers. The good news? The systems the 1% are using, they have accessible versions, and we're going to decode 3 of them right now.
Think of these as your counter mechanisms. First, the knowledge multiplier, to slam the information gap shut. Second, the investment multiplier, to automate rational, data-driven decisions. And third, the efficiency multiplier, to scale your own personal output.
All right, let's start with knowledge. The old way, the manual approach. It's slow. It relies on generic advice you find online. But now, Britannica Money points out that AI chatbots can act as your own personal finance tutor. You can ask them to explain complex stuff like tax loss harvesting or portfolio diversification, and you get an answer instantly. You can even run simulations of investment scenarios. This is a huge deal. It democratizes the very knowledge that used to be locked away inside private banks.
Okay, multiplier number 2, investment. We all know the manual approach here is a disaster, right? It's driven by emotion, riddled with high fees. But the AI-assisted approach, it runs on pure data. As Link Markets has pointed out, platforms like Betterment and Wealthfront give you direct access to robo-advisors. These things use algorithms for portfolio management, for automated rebalancing, basically mimicking the systematic approach of the 1% at a fraction of the cost.
All right, let's get to the final section. And you need to listen closely to this. The window is closing. These multipliers we just talked about, they are not going to be an advantage forever. This is a temporary edge.
Because the gap between the people who use these systems and the people who don't, it's not just growing anymore. It's solidifying. It's hardening into a permanent feature of our economic world.
This timeline lays it all out. Right now, it's 2025. We are in the early adopter advantage phase. But look ahead. By 2028, these AI systems are going to be completely mainstream. And by 2035, that divide becomes structural. It becomes permanent. The entire advantage goes to the people who act now inside this window. If you wait, you're not just starting late. You're starting from a position of irreversible disadvantage.
So, the data is clear. The systems are defined. And that timeline, it's non-negotiable. The 1% are not sitting around waiting for permission to use these weapons. The only variable left in this entire equation is your action. So comment below, which multiplier are you deploying first?